All right, welcome to Hoops Tracker. We have a few days left before the playoff starts. One of the big things that we wanted to do is educate people on the RPI index that CHSAA produces, how it works, and where we're at. Just remember, Colorado Hoops Tracker, we are your source for Colorado basketball, boys and girls. We cover the whole state. Man, what a great season it's been. But let's jump into the CHSAA RPI. What is the CHSAA RPI? Basically, the RPI is a rating percentage index. A great place to start what an RPI is at an actual Wikipedia page. But CHSAA became first interested in this back in 2015. I believe in 2016 or 2017, they actually started using it. There used to be a basketball committee, especially for 4A and 5A back then. Those were our top classifications. And that basketball committee would go out, watch all the games, watch all the teams, and they would actually make adjustments and work with the seating and make adjustments. So, like, let's say, for example, a top team like Mullen has been notable for doing this is they would be a top team. They'd go play out of state. They'd lose. They'd play in the Centennial League, which is just a grinder of a league, and then drop down to 5A and play 5A teams, and they would get a seed like a 7 or a 12. And so, anyway, the basketball committee would make adjustments for something like that. But there is an RPI that's used for the NC2A and NAIA, and those have a different formula, but let's take a look at CHSAA's formula. So basically, the CHSAA formula is made up of CHSAA's RPI, 50%, and 50% of the max preps RPI, and they're merged and averaged. But this is what the RPI follows, and I believe both use the similar equation, but CHSAA's RPI is 30% is a winning percentage of your current winning percentage. 40% is your opponent's winning percentage. And then 30% is your opponent's winning percentage. Now, what's interesting is if there's head-to-head matchups or games, those are not included. So, for example, just yesterday, Mountain Vista boys beat Ralston Valley. Ralston Valley was number 2 or 3 in our rankings, but that would not affect either one's team of that particular going head to head. It's not calculated in the equation. So for people wondering, like, well, how is Ralston Valley, and we'll take a look at this in a second, how does one team rank lower than the other, even if they beat them head to head and in recent competition? So this is what the formula is. Now, the data for the formula, everybody has to enter in all their games into Max Preps. CHSAA uses that. Obviously, Max Preps uses that. Now, all those games for the regular season are counted. Now, if you go travel out of state, so let's say you go to Kansas or you go to Arizona or New Mexico or Utah or Wyoming, if you play any teams in those adjoining states from those adjoining states, they are counted just as if it was an in-state competition. This is per the CHSAA website. Now, this is if you play a team, let's say from Maryland or something like that, then it actually falls into a different category in the equation. Where will the RPI standings be published? They're actually published right here at the CHSAA Now. Don't worry about the date being 2021 or whatever, but this RPI standing, and we will jump there in a second. But how does the components formula work, right? Your winning percentage, you divide all your winning number of wins by the total number of games. That's your winning percentage. You do the same for your opponent's winning percentage. You factor that in, et cetera, et cetera. So let's jump over to, well, let's just take a quick glance here. Here's the CHSAA seeding index as of today, February 19th, 2025. You see the top boys in 6A and girls in 6A. So let's take a look, right? So right now, the current standings, and this will not change a whole lot. So teams, the teams where this will affect are the teams down at the lower ends. And for 1A through 4A, they only take the top 32. For 5A and 6A, they take the top 40. So where will this, will a game make a big difference for these lower teams? And it could leapfrog one into the other. So you see Vista Peak is sitting just outside the top 40, where you got Cherry Creek, you got Mountain Range, right? And here or there, right, you can see here's their RPI, their winning percentage, their opponent's winning percentage, etc. And then you can see that, yeah, so like let's say, for example, Vista Peak might play Cherry Creek. Well, that might factor in if they win. Or if Vista Peak plays Castleview, Vista Peak's in the Denver City League, Cherry Creek's in Continental, Castleview's in, or Cherry Creek is in the Centennial, Castleview is in the Continental League. So these may or may not factor, but let's say Vista Peak here, that's in the DPS, beats Denver East. That might move them up, and East might slide down a slot. So when you're looking at the RPI, this will tell you pretty closely who's in and who's not for the playoffs. Let's take a quick glance at the girls 6A. And you can see, right, Valor Christian, their only two losses are out of state. They're in-state losses. Grandview's only in-state loss is to Valor. Broomfield's only loss is in-state is to Valor. So if you look at how this works and how this factors in, going into the weekend, will this last game count or not? Like, for example, last night, Highlands Ranch beat Legend. Highlands Ranch will win the Continental League. However, looking at the RPIs right now today, Legend still is 6 and Highlands Ranch is 7. They may or may not flop by the end of the week. So when you're looking at this, take a lot of this into consideration. Now, we do have a lot of questions because people ask us, well, what about other rankings? There is another ranking source out there called Packard. And most of the basketball junkies, we follow the Packard rankings. Why? Because it's a lot more accurate. Strength of schedule, the formula is a little bit different. It was developed by Dr. Eric Packard out at Colorado Mesa. He's been doing this for over 20 years. He's got it refined pretty well. If you're looking for matchups and who might win and who might, Dr. Packard has those in his website, so you can see the power rankings, but you can also go in and do game predictions. So if you want to match up and have a little fun over the CHSAA rankings and the playoffs coming up, it would be fun to see how Dr. Packard rankings go up as they go head to head against different teams. And his prediction model is actually pretty good. So for those who are interested, want to dive in, go to PackardPowerRankings.com. There is a prediction model in there for boys and girls. It's a lot of fun. This is Jerry Howard, your host. Just remember, if you guys have news, you're looking for getting stuff out on the games, you've got maybe somebody who hit 1,000 points or 1,000 rebounds, DM us, Twitter us, we will post it. We'll get it out there. So with that, we are excited for the playoffs. It's going to be a fun weekend, and the next few weeks, we are into March Madness almost. So there you go. Everyone have a great week. Good luck to everybody in getting into the playoffs and making it, and we will be there to cover it.